To politics now. Former President Trump is lashing out at a group he says should have supported him more in the 2020 election, America's Jewish community. Trump spoke at a fundraiser over the weekend hosted by a group of Jewish real estate developers in New Jersey. For more than 30 minutes, Trump riffed on the, quote, Jewish people in this country that hate Israel, and complained about how his pro-Israel decisions while in office did not earn him a higher share of Jewish votes. The publication Jewish Insider reports Trump said, I do all these things. When I first ran, I said, I understand I haven't done anything yet. Typically, a Republican gets 20% of the Jewish vote. I got 25%. That wasn't so good. Trump continued. Now I've done Golan Heights. I've turned around the Iran nuclear deal. Bibi begged Obama not to sign it. It was a horrible deal. It's a short road to having a nuclear weapon, a very short-term deal. I terminated that. I did all these things for Israel. No president has ever been so good to Israel by far as I have, and I got 26%. I went from 25 to 26%. Think of it. I do all these things. This is not a quid pro quo. I was unbelievable for Israel. I got 1 point extra. For all this, I ended up at 26%. All right. Meanwhile, Trump appeared to agree with a radio host in an interview Tuesday who called second gentleman Doug Emhoff a, quote, crappy Jew. Trump repeated comments he has made before, lashing out at Jewish voters who back Democrats, and he told ABC radio host Sid Rosenberg that Harris dislikes Jewish people and Israel even more than Biden did. Rosenberg then brought up the second gentleman. Take a listen.
They tell me that this Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, Mr. President, is Jewish. He's Jewish like Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Are you kidding me? He's a crappy Jew. Yeah. He's a horrible Jew.
Rosenberg says he's a crappy Jew. Trump agrees. When asked if Trump meant to do that, Trump's campaign responded this way. He obviously wasn't agreeing with that sentiment. Stop taking talking points and transcripts from the Kamala folks. They later added, Kamala has stoked anti-Israel hate on school campuses with her dangerous and divisive rhetoric. The Harris campaign responded that Vice President Harris believes Americans want a president who unites our country instead of divides it, uses the power of the presidency to help families instead of hurt them, and has a vision for our future instead of taking us backwards. Richard Haass, so much to get into there. He's also accused the vice president of not liking Jewish people. Of course, she's married to one. Just give us your thoughts as to this litany of offensive comments.
Well, there's a thread this morning. It takes on African Americans and now here Jewish Americans. First, he is essentially trafficking in the trope of dual loyalty, that American Jews only care about Israel. He's overlooking the fact that the last I checked, American Jews are Americans. They are Jewish Americans. We are American citizens. And the idea that they only care about Israel is, again, that's something that's been used by anti-Semites historically. Second of all, we can have a big conversation, Jonathan, about what does it mean to be pro-Israel. Pro-Israel does not mean unconditional support for the policy of the government Israel any more than being pro-American means everything we do is always right. Last I checked, you could be pro-American and a patriot and maybe think the Iraq War in 2003 was a big mistake, or Vietnam was a mistake. Same thing with Israel. You could be pro-Israel. I like to think of myself as pro-Israel. I have disagreed with a lot of what Israel has done in Gaza. So I don't appreciate Donald Trump telling me as an American what ought to inform my vote, much less what does it mean to be pro-Israel.
Sam Stein, we're sitting around here at the table at 30 Rock in New York City, and I can just sense that you've got something on your mind to say about this. I can just sense it's ready to burst right out over the airwaves. So go.
Well, thank you, Mike. I do have something on my mind. I appreciate that. It's essentially what Richard said. This is deeply offensive. He being Trump, assumed that he can define what our interests are as Jews. He has assumed that he can define how Kamala Harris should identify herself racially. It's all binary, and the binary fault line is, do you support him? And I listened to that interview he gave in which he talked about his vote going up from 25 to 26%. And the sort of logical conclusion is that, in fact, It is a quid pro quo. He says, it's not a quid pro quo. It is a quid pro quo. And what he's dangling out there is that he will not pursue policies that are supportive of Israel unless he gets a higher share of the Jewish vote in this election. And that's sort of a very rude, grotesque way to think about politics. You have to vote for me, and if you vote for me, you'll get the policies you want. Putting aside all the stuff Richard said, that's just a classically grotesque way to think about policymaking, but that's just how he operates. And look, I'm obviously Jewish. Doug Emhoff is obviously Jewish. I think for someone to come in and say, you have to think a certain way or you're not a good Jew, and to agree with that sentiment is, frankly, anti-Semitic, yes.
We certainly all agree with that. Sam Stein, Richard Haass, thank you for joining us this morning. No Yankee talk today. Don't even try. Next up.